Do you want early access? Do you want uncut reactions? If so, then check out our Patreon. Link in the description down below. Yeah, we made a boo-boo. Sorry about that. The post-credit scene at the end of episode 2. We will be watching that before we get into episode 3.
I already know what it is, though.
Oh,
I'm kind of perturbed about it. Because Jack in a Box was an entire chapter in the book. And it didn't end with him being run over. I think it's okay for me to tell you this because it's already pretty clear that they've decided to condense and gloss over his chapter, and it's kind of done with. They can't really do anything else with it. But I should probably tell you after we watch this credit scene. So I guess let's go ahead and check this out, and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
What actually happens. So what happens in the book is he gives her the present, and then she says that she can't take it, and then he does the whole, like, I'll stop this car thing, and gets run over, right? He doesn't get run over with the Jack in the Box in his hand. She still has the unopened package in her hand. Mm-hmm. And so obviously he has his funeral, he's buried and such. Like, you know, they're talking about it afterwards. Like, did you hear Jack in the Box got fucking run over by a car and stuff? And she kept the gift, and like out of curiosity and like somewhat guilt, you know, she decided to open it, and it's a Jack in the Box. And that's when it pops out and it opens, it starts to talk to her and like taunt her and stuff and freaks her out. And she confides in Shuichi, and they go to the cemetery because like she basically gets convinced that like there's something wrong and like he's not really dead or something. And they're like, we'll freaking go to the cemetery and we'll make sure, like we'll look, like his grave's fresh, you know. They get to the cemetery, and when they find his grave and stuff, that's what he looks like. Obviously he looks terrible, like they closed casket and sewed him back together, you know.
Yeah.
But he supposedly reanimates, and this is one of the parts where I'm like, I'm kind of like torn, because there were some silly parts in the book, and out of all the silly parts, like I think there's 3 really silly parts, and I think 2 of them were definitely worth keeping. One of them's her hair. One of them is this, and the other one is not so much worth keeping, I think. But this was definitely worth keeping because it was, even though it was silly, it was still like one of the most disturbing things in the entire book. And he fucking bounces out, like rips his upper torso off and bounces out after them with like a spring coming out of his lower torso. Like he's become a human Jack in the Box. And then he like kind of falls over and shit, and they realize it was like when he got buried and sewn back together, they didn't find that there was a whole ass fucking suspension spring like shoved into his torso from where he got ran over.
Jeez.
So yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit perturbed because it looks like they glossed over that entire second half of Jack in a Box's chapter that was actually one of the freakier, more disturbing parts in this thing. So, but the good news is that episode 3 that's coming up, from the sound of it, has 2 of the other most disturbing chapters in it, so that's good.
I guess.
I already had to ask somebody because they had said they already watched it. I was like, so do they have to censor it? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I figured they would have to.
Of course.
So it's that part I was talking about that I was like, there's a part of it I don't know if they'll be able to show, like if it's original, the way it's drawn, and like, I was right, they weren't.
I figured that. Well, you got episode 3, you ready? Shall we?
Sure.
Let's go.
Also, obviously, the animation quality dropped between the first episode and the second.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little perturbed about that as well.
音を感じる器官、おそらく人体の中で最も露骨な渦巻きであるその存在。
Finally, they're getting around to doing this.
身の奥の渦巻きに気づいてしまったら。
人がいっぱいなので同室お願いしますね。あ、はい。
Oh no.
恵子さん？あら？お知り合いなの？いとこなんです。
Uh-oh.
I thought they had skipped this chapter as well, so I'm glad they're finally getting to this. So this is from chapter 4. So we're well past that in terms of everything else in the book so far.
Mm-hmm.
どうやら血液が全て抜き取られているようだ。
Damn.
とにかく警察を。
カメ刺されてたまるか。
俊一君。
するのは産卵を控えたメスだけなんだぜ。
Some of this animation looks a little bit better than in the previous episode, but some of it looks about the same as some of the lower quality from the previous episode as well.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, the swarm.
Yeah, that could have been so much better animated, man.
Oh no. Oh. Hypnosis. That's why they never make a sound. Oh. I'd get the fuck out of the hospital.
血をちょうだい。恵子さん。死ねー。
Back, you she bitches.
Keto spray.
Back, you she bitches. Oh god. Nope.
母さん。
ああ、古くなったんで破棄したんですよ。
お聞きしますけど、人間の耳。
あるわけないでしょ。
本当かしら。
Thank God. No, woman. Don't do it.
外しておいたからなんとかなったものの。
ぐるぐる回る。渦巻きになりたくない。
See, they fucked up right here.
How's that?
Because this happened in chapter 3, and that's why I said I was waiting for them to get around to this, right?
Yeah.
And they're burning her right now. But they've already said in the show they've stopped burning people because they turned into spirals whenever they burned them. They started burying everyone from Kurosa's show already. So they fucked up the continuity by changing stuff around like they have.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
I've liked the changes up until now of them changing things around, but they weren't even able to keep it consistent, you know? They goofed. And it's probably due to them being rushed, so...
ごちそうさまでした。ないの、なんだか血生臭くて。
参加の川本先生が言ってらしたわ。言われなくても食べるわよね。ねえ。
I know what those are.
Oh.
Man, they had to rush the shit out of this chapter, didn't they?
版を作り直してまで元の場所に元の存在に戻りたがっている。
キノコのようなものが。
そう、胎盤だ。ここで分娩しているうちに自然発生する。
Like that part you were talking about.
That's not how I expected them to censor it. I expected them to draw a bra on her at least. So that's kind of
川本
strange.
先生、血をちょうだい。
No. Yeah, fuck you, Doc. Is it too late to burn down the hospital?
God, they rushed the fuck out of this chapter. Everything you just saw from her eating the little bit of mushroom in her bowl to right there, that was an entire chapter of the book. just rushed.
Sheesh.
Like, just fucking blazed through.
君んちはトンボ池のすぐ近くじゃないか。あの池は渦巻きにひどく汚染されてるんで
Oh
す。
yeah, and they still have to finish the firing effects. So.
どうしたの修一君。
人だった。焼き物は渦巻きの芸術であるという名言を残したほどに。
顔。修一君のお父さんとお母さんに似てる。
てください。
おや、まだいたのかい。
呼んでるんです。誰かが僕を釜の中から呼んでるんです。
Oh. All the souls trapped in there? Oh.
So that's the other thing, is you kind of have to pay more attention in the show to grab it, because they reiterate it in the book at least once. I think they do it once each time each of his parents die, but like when the spiral appears in the sky when they burn them, you remember what happens to it after that?
It spiraled down into
Dragonfly Pond.
Oh.
And then he started taking
Clay from the
inside
pond.
Dragonfly pond, and that's why this is happening now.
Oh man.
It's like they sort of iterated that in this, but it was harder to catch. Like I wouldn't have probably caught it if I hadn't read the books.
を阻む原因は分かっておらず。私は今黒渦町に来てます。台風は依然動く気配は見せず。後ろの電柱のところに何か。
Ah.
台風の影響でそういった被害が起きているのでしょうか。
Yeah, I forgot they didn't show her face in that episode, and I was confused. I was like, why did they skip that? It was so creepy. They waited until just now.
Yeah.
It's like, because in the book, it actually sucks the life out of her to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think they said that in the episode, but since it sucks the life out of her to keep growing, she basically, like, when it curls around the pole, she's just like, I'm really tired, and then it just kind of keeps going so fast that it sucks all the life out of her down to where she's just a kind of withered husk, you know?
They just showed it there, so I guess that's closure on that.
Yeah.
台風の目がお姉ちゃんを探してるよ。バカね、ミツオ。目って言ったって本当に目がついてるわけじゃないのよ。はーい。修一君。
キリエ、来るんだ。
大丈夫ですか？今助けますから。
For real? Why did they... I guess it makes more sense where she was pulled out of her house, but in the book they're both wearing raincoats.
どうして？
Just belched her back out, and now she's dead.
あの人、きっと私と間違えられて。
Oh yeah, all that rain. Yeah, let's go into the sewer.
Spirals are everywhere.
こんな粗末な作りの長屋がなぜ台風にやられなかったんだろうな。
こう見えて案外頑丈なのね。
Skipped way fucking ahead on this too, didn't they?
え？
Their house did get messed up. That's why they're in this row house. They just completely glossed over that part for some reason.
異様な風貌なんだそうで、鬼の噂はそのせいみたいだから心配いらないよ。じゃあ。
Can tell they were saving on their animation time right here too.
Yeah.
あの叫びは普通じゃない。おばあさん、どうしたんですか？
Don't touch her.
息子が死んでしまった。
Looked like he was covered in horns.
そして生意気な女、お前から目が離せない。
You horny bastard. You turning into an urchin?
若林さん。
better than McDonald's. Oh.
Really now?
Oh.
Alright, I guess they didn't leave it completely out.
It is literally a... Oh. That's fucking gnarly. Alright. Not leaving anything to chance this time.
Yeah, they did something else this time.
私たちに次々と起こる異様な出来事に手に麻痺してしまったのかもしれません。
Jesus.
Yeah, that chapter was rushed because whenever they first get there, they actually see, like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they see the mother initially, like, walking in, and she's just, you know, the robe from behind and stuff. They talk about how her son's sick and everything, and then it's either shortly before or shortly after she's sobbing and her son is dead. Her dad is like, I got a weird wart on my toe. And he's like, what the fuck? You know, and it's a spiral-shaped wart on his toe. And then the rest of her family and her start to get them too. They think that, like, whatever that disease is that's in there is spreading to them. And so they all start growing these little spiral-like things. And the dude's sitting there in the same spot watching her, I guess, like, his grew quicker. Maybe where he was closer to where the origin of it was as well. So, like, he came through the wall and stuff, but...
Yeah.
They skip the whole thing about her and her family getting them too. And when they leave the row house, they all go away.
So it's a curse of, like, the row house.
Mm-hmm. At least that one in particular.
Sheesh. Well, damn. You gotta say, this one was...
I mean, at least they didn't completely cut out Jack in the Box's ending, but that was... Obviously, they went to the graveyard to dig him out. That's not happened this time, you know, so...
Yeah, he literally popped
out of the grave himself and hopped all the way over there somehow.
He's like, ah!
Which makes it even more silly than it already was to think that, like, he hopped that far without falling apart, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's just, he shows up during the typhoon without getting blown away as well. It's like, really? It's like, I like seeing a lot of this stuff animated, but at this point, like, I'm going from here to about, like, kind of here with how I feel about this, you know.
Yeah, we started out at a 10 out of 10 with the first episode.
Yeah, the second episode went quickly to like, and then now it's going down to like, because there was a lot wrong with this episode, like a lot, and it's clearly, it's very clear to me now that 4 episodes was not enough. This is very rushed.
Should have been 6 episodes at least.
5 or 6 at least. I think maybe they could have pulled off 5 with the pace they've been going with it. But clearly they were rushed way too hard on, you know, having to save on their animation and stuff whenever they did such a good job on the first episode. They should have been given the time they needed. I think they said they switched studios in between the first and second episode too. And if that's true, it's just like, why the fuck did the first studio want to be compensated for their amazing work? Because you should have fucking done it. Like,
I agree.
And it's so disappointing because this could have been a masterpiece, man, and it's just obviously it's not.
I hate to say it, but it tends
it's okay, but it's not anywhere near as good as it could have been. It's wasted potential once again.
Well, once again, just producers and asshats getting in the way when they don't need to, and not giving the money that's needed to finish.
I was hoping they could maybe go back and like director's cut this and stuff, but like it would take a lot of work at this point because they'd have to reanimate like a lot of the firsts. I mean, I guess were there only singular episodes, it wouldn't be as bad as like for a certain like shows that are longer in terms of the runtime, but they would have to go back to episode 2 and basically reanimate a lot of stuff to fix the order somewhat because obviously her hair's cut short, like in places that it shouldn't be a lot. So if they wanted to like fix the order a little bit and fix the continuity, they'd probably have to be really careful with making sure her hair stays continuity wise as well.
Yeah.
either short or not.
God, well,
it would take work to fix, but it would be nice to eventually see them allow somebody to upgrade this to where it should have been, you know.
100%. I agree with you 100% on that, dude.
And at this point, like, my opinion is definitely going to be, as a book reader on this one, is if you've only seen this, you should definitely check the book out, because this is definitely not a replacement for the original this time around. The episode 1 could be a good replacement for the first couple chapters, but like
everything
the
else,
rest of it, no, this doesn't quite live up to it at all. Like, you definitely should check the book out because it's way better.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Well, let me know
what do you think as a non-book reader this far.
Honestly, first episode, easily 10 out of 10. It was magnificent. Second episode, I noticed the animation like drop and dips and all that, and I thought maybe it was an artistic choice, like them running on the beach at the end of the second episode. I thought, it's maybe an artistic choice. Turns out no, it's just time and budget constraints. Either way, I mean, from everything that I've seen so far, first episode 10 out of 10 as is right now. I'm flirting with like a 7. I'm flirting with a 7, and depending on how the ending goes, this will either be like passing grade or failure. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're okay with everything else in this, I think anybody would have to admit objectively they actually made one hell of a fuck up in this episode with their continuity.
Yes.
With them burning Shuichi's mother after they had already said they had stopped doing that, like
they were just burying
that
people.
is a continuity blunder right there.
Yeah.
Like, objectively, that's not even subjective on that point. That's just an oops.
Yeah, big time.
It's like, I definitely caught that.
Either way, I don't know what else to say right now except for pretty good episode, but stuff that I'm just like, I'm a bit iffy on, but
questioning their decisions in terms of how they're changing around stuff at this point too. Like, whereas at first I was completely on board with it. I was like, well, this works really well still. It's like starting to not work as good now, you know. I'm honestly kind of glad that it's wrapping up in the next episode, because the sooner it wraps up, the less margin for error they're gonna have for making fuck ups like that, you know. So at least they've made it this far with only one major one that I can see, and like a couple of questionable ones other than that. Hopefully they get through the ending events without completely just fucking it all up.
We can only hope, dude. We can only hope. Well, I think that's going to do it, everybody. So thank y'all very much for tuning in to Uzumaki Episode 3. Let us know what y'all thought in the comments down below. We'd love to hear what y'all have to say. And until next time, I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. Take care.